Today, we're digging deep, and I mean that literally, into the story of Virginia. We're going to explore how the very ground beneath the state has been this incredibly important strategic asset, shaping everything from colonial survival all the way to modern global industry. It is a wild story of conflict, innovation, and just immense natural wealth.
So, let's kick things off with a little puzzle. What on earth could possibly connect a colonial musket, a Civil War ironclad, and a modern ceramic dish? I mean, they seem completely unrelated, right? Separated by centuries and all kinds of technology. But believe it or not, they all share a common hidden origin.
And the answer is minerals. Specifically, minerals mined from the rich and, well, really diverse geology of Virginia. The lead for that musket, the iron for the warship, and the kyanite for that high-tech ceramic, yep, they all came from the very same state. And that is the story of how it all happened.
To really get the full picture, we're going to journey through 5 key chapters. We'll start with the first pretty violent attempts at mining. Then we'll see how German miners basically became a human shield on the frontier. We'll uncover the crucial minerals of war, watch Virginia's rise as an industrial powerhouse, and finally, take a look at its unique mineral riches today.
All right, so our story begins way back in the early 17th century, where the dream of tapping into America's mineral wealth met a very, very harsh reality. This wasn't just about making money, it was literally about survival.
This timeline really helps set the stage. As early as 1619, you have the Jamestown settlers setting up the first iron furnace in English America. It then takes nearly 100 years for the next major attempt by Governor Spotswood to actually succeed, and by the mid-1700s, Virginia was already pioneering commercial coal production for the entire country. But that first attempt, that one back in 1619, yeah, it ended in total disaster.
This quote really drives home just how high the stakes were. In 1622, the Fallen Creek Ironworks were completely wiped out during the Powhatan Uprising. It just goes to show you that right from the very beginning, this was never just about digging rocks out of the ground. Controlling these resources was a matter of life and death. So let's see how this theme of conflict and resources starts to evolve. A century after that first failure, a new governor, a guy named Alexander Spotswood, came up with this really ingenious plan that connected mining directly to defending the colony. So put yourself in Governor Spotswood's shoes. He's facing this classic two-part problem. He knew there was immense mineral wealth, especially iron, just sitting there waiting to be tapped. But at the exact same time, he had a huge security threat. The colony's western frontier was totally exposed and vulnerable. So what do? How could you possibly solve both problems at once? Well, his solution was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He looked to Europe, specifically to the Siegen region of Germany, which was famous for its generations of mining know-how. He recruited 42 Germans and their families, brought them over, and settled them in a fortified settlement he called Germana, right on the dangerous edge of the frontier. They would mine the iron he desperately wanted, and their very presence would serve as a military buffer.
And get this wasn't just some unspoken benefit of the plan, it was official policy. Spotswood actually argued to the Virginia Assembly that these German families should be exempt from taxes precisely because they were serving as a protective barrier. They weren't just miners, they were soldier-settlers, a living wall defending the rest of the colony. Okay, so this theme of minerals being essential to conflict, it only gets more intense from here. As America starts forging its identity through the Revolutionary and Civil Wars, Virginia's ground becomes the armory for entire armies.
What's so crucial here is seeing how different wars demanded totally different minerals from Virginia's soil. During the Revolution, the Austinville mines were absolutely indispensable, providing the lead that filled the muskets of the Continental Army. Then, less than 100 years later, during the Civil War, it was Virginia's iron that became the backbone of the Confederate war machine. This table gives us a fantastic breakdown of just how critical Virginia's resources were to the Confederacy. I mean, we're talking iron for everything from cannons to the famous ironclad warships. Salt from Saltville was essential for preserving food to feed the soldiers. Niter, found in caves, was needed for gunpowder, and lead, of course, was still vital for ammunition. Virginia wasn't just a battlefield, it was the South's strategic reserve. After the Civil War, the strategic focus of Virginia's minerals shifted, moving from the battlefield to the factory floor. The state's resources became a key engine for America's whole industrial revolution. And the star of this new era was a mineral called pyrite. Now, you might know it as fool's gold, but I'm telling you, its industrial value was very, very real.
Why? Because it was the key ingredient for making sulfuric acid, which is one of the most important chemicals for modern industry. And for over 30 years, the heart of this production was the Cabin Branch mine. This one single mine fueled an incredible range of industries. The sulfuric acid that came from its ore was essential for making fertilizer, which totally transformed agriculture, but also for gunpowder, textiles, and paper. To really understand just how critical this was, look at this number. During World War I, the demand for gunpowder just skyrocketed, and with it, the need for pyrite. By 1917, Virginia was producing an astonishing 37% of the entire nation's supply. So once again, when the country was at war, it turned to the ground beneath Virginia. And that brings us to the modern era. Now, while the days of bog iron and pyrite booms might be over, Virginia remains a uniquely strategic player in the national mineral industry. This U.S. Geological Survey map gives you a great visual sense of the modern industry. You can see operations are spread all across the state, mostly concentrated along the major geological formations. This stuff isn't ancient history. It's a living, breathing part of Virginia's economy right now. And it is a significant part. Back in 2007, the value of non-fuel mineral production in Virginia was over $1 billion. And that includes everything from the crushed stone you need for construction to these highly specialized industrial minerals. But this is where Virginia's modern role becomes truly unique. It's not just about the volume, it's about specialization. It's a top-tier supplier of some very specific, very critical minerals. And just look at that top line. Virginia is the only state in the entire country that produces kyanite. So why does that matter? Well, kyanite is absolutely essential for making things that can withstand extreme heat. We're talking high-tech ceramics, the linings for furnaces used to smelt steel and other metals. That means modern manufacturing, from aerospace to electronics, relies on a mineral that comes from one single place in the U.S., Virginia. In an age of fragile global supply chains, having the sole domestic source of a critical mineral, well, that is a massive strategic advantage. The story continues. We've seen how Virginia's earth has provided the raw materials for defense, for war, and for industry for over 400 years. It really makes you wonder, as technology changes and new needs arise, what other strategic resources are still waiting to be discovered under that soil, and how will they end up shaping the centuries to come?